Hi, this is Joe Davis with GotBaseballCards.com. I'm a lifelong sports card collector and hobby veteran for over 30 years. We are very excited to offer you this channel to provide you the finest in sports card news and entertainment. Thanks for watching.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in today to the Got Baseball Cards YouTube channel. This is Joe and I'm here with good friend Chuck Oliver.
Howdy.
And today we are going to be talking eBay. Chuck and I host a show together, The Collector and the Dealer podcast that comes out every week, and we highly recommend you tune in because we provide lots of insights on the sports card hobby, both modern and vintage. And we like to take different perspectives because Chuck is a serious collector, I'm a serious dealer. And so today we're going to talk eBay from the perspective of buying and selling. And so I get asked all the time questions about eBay and how do you get deals, and what are ways to buy, what are ways to sell. So Chuck, share some experiences with us from the buying side, the things you've done lately, things that have worked well for buying techniques, or whether you're bidding or whether you buy it now or making offers. What are some experiences have you had lately, or things you're learning to improve your buying experience?
Well, I found that with vintage, Joe, I really do like to buy it now, because for most folks, if you're a set builder of vintage, you're just looking for the card. And if it's supposed to be, it's a 62 high number and it's supposed to be, $14, that's about what it's supposed to be, and you see it for 16 or 18, buy it now. If you've been looking for that 62 tops high number long enough, all right, here's an extra $4. Let's take the mystery out of this. I just want the card. But I've also found out from the seller side, I have caught on to a lot of the habits. And I don't know if you follow this or not, but I realized that I was spending a lot of time on eBay trying to finish off my buys, my bidding, my winning the auctions on Tuesday nights. And apparently the best time to have an auction expire is at like 10 or 10:30 Eastern on a Tuesday night. So you get the West Coast involved. Right. It's not on a Monday where everybody is busy catching up from the weekend or stuff at work. And so I realized, I was like, why is it like Tuesday night? I told my wife has turned into like Wednesday's date night, Saturday's whatever, Tuesday night's my eBay night. Because that's when a lot of my auctions would wind up, coming to a close. One of the great things about eBay that I have found is you get high-res photography. You get to see the exact cards you're getting, turn it over, do all that other stuff. I've also learned that on eBay, if someone has a poor angle or no card, or it looks like the top loader is a little scratched or fuzzy, there's usually a reason. All right. If somebody's trying to sell you a 72 Hank Aaron, they're not going to put it in a scratched, smudgy top loader. They're going to spend another 6 cents on a good top loader and put it in there. And so I have learned just to walk away, because there is no card that is the only one of that kind. We were talking earlier, speaking of 72 tops, card number 170, Vita Blue in action. It does not exist centered. And so even for some of those cards, when I see them, I don't just leap at it, even though I've been looking for that one card centered for about 5 years. There's usually a reason that you're not getting a clear scan of it, etc. I've also learned to read the language very closely for some people. For some folks that I buy from, it's just blatant. 1977 tops, Johnny Bench, here it is, front and back, clear pictures. Joe, do you remember when SCD had their 25th anniversary? It was 98 or 99, I believe. Right. They had an issue, I bet it weighed 1.5 pounds. Yeah. And they went through, it was retrospective, the last 25 years in the hobby. I remember buying it off the newsstand for $3.99 or whatever it is, but about 6 months ago, I was like, it just occurred to me for some reason. I was like, oh my gosh, I want to get that anniversary issue because there's so much history
of the hobby.
So I went to eBay and I typed in SCD 1998 25th anniversary issue. The first 3 that I ordered, do you remember they also included a set of 1 through 25 cards that Fleer made specifically for SCD that were distributed that year?
I forgot.
And so I started getting cards in. And people would list on eBay as 25th anniversary issue insert. And so I would get like a Warren Spahn card. I was like, I wanted the magazine.
Right.
And so I learned that I need to read closer. I also need to be wary of some people who are purposely a little, ambiguous on it. But it's a great experience for me, eBay is, because again, I get the pictures of the cards front and back, and I know I've actually over time built up a nice little roster of about 5 or 6 different individuals that I'll buy from, and I know I can trust them. And so you don't have to scour the cards quite as much. And so it's nothing but a positive experience for me, absolutely. And I've set up my PayPal account years ago and got the debit card hooked up to it. So it literally, they could not make it easier. And it's a great experience on eBay. And if I want to tell you real quick, when the shutdown happened in March, and Joe, I know I told you about this already, for the first time ever, I sold cards. I had 4 coworkers in particular who, like, on a Wednesday, they had a job. On Thursday, their income went to 0. And so I started auctioning some cards on eBay. And so I actually got to experience it from that side. And I actually realized now, I was like, unless you're set up to do this a whole lot, it's not so easy to take a perfect picture of a card. Oh, there's the glare, or I missed the corner, or whatever. And so you explained COM-C to me, and you know how that works. And so it's been a sort of an evolving process, but I got to experience a little bit on the seller side. But as far as a buyer, eBay's tremendous. I love it.
Yeah. And your story about buying the inserts when you wanted a magazine. I remember there was some non-sport box that somebody wanted, and I was like, I'll find you one on eBay, don't worry. Send you a box of cards. So I go in there and I searched, I don't know what it was, some TV, MASH, whatever the box, I don't remember now. But MASH non-sport box or whatever. So I was like, I got you one ordered, no problem. It comes in. Literally, it was the box, no packs. It was just an empty box. And so I looked back at the description, and
I bought one
sure enough, it said
there's a box.
No mention of any cards. And I was
didn't
like,
say unopened, didn't say 36 packs.
One, yeah. Like, we're not talking about a 52 tops empty box here. We're
70 talking Charlie's Angels.
Yeah. I was just like, okay.
One of the fine Donruss issues from the late 70s.
Yes. So I was like, all right, lesson learned. Thankfully, it was not too pricey.
That was it. It was like $4 for this. I was like, all right, well, that's about what the issue cost. And I was like, it was a Warren Spahn card that said Collector's Digest on it.
Yeah.
So
yeah. What do you look for when you're looking at a seller? Let's educate, because I know we've got viewers who have thousands of feedback themselves.
Yeah.
We've got 100,000 something now. We've been there since '98. But for a novice who I have friends, and I'll say, hey, have you looked for this on eBay? They're like, that's a bunch of used stuff and a bunch of damage. They don't understand necessarily what they're looking for. So when you see that little seller profile, anything particular you look for?
Yeah, and I'm sure I'm like everybody that when you're first starting or in whatever category, whether it's auto parts or baseball cards or paintings or whatever. You at some point you're there for your first time in that category. And so I can say now, 15 years after buying on eBay, because I used to just buy and sell, I had autographed photos, like I had all the Heisman photos and all that stuff, some Super Bowl tickets and things like that. But then I really just got back into cards, and I started with nobody, and then I built up a roster of about a half dozen folks that I've just learned to trust. But the only way I learned to trust them is I actually ordered about a half dozen. Before I jump in, I'll order about a half dozen cards that I want, but on the lower end, not very pricey, quality stuff.
Right.
But and before I order like a 1960 mantle, maybe I'll order a 75 Bob Gibson.
Yeah.
See how it goes. And
lessen your risk if it doesn't go well.
Yeah. And so you get to find out, a little bit about the dealers and how quick the turnaround is and such. What I've found overwhelmingly, Joe, and I get this is good news, and for anybody who has hesitation about eBay, I'm not really sure why. If it was 1997, it was the Wild West, that's one thing.
Yeah.
They really have taken feedback from people, and they have, over time, they have sort of narrowed to the point that, eBay filters out a lot of the bad characters.
Yeah.
And some of their policies that can be difficult to work through sometimes if there really isn't anything amiss. Like, you have to take returns if you sell on eBay, right? Okay. There are some bad actors who will purchase and want to slip in a different card, I'm assuming.
Right.
I don't mean to sound moralistic. I don't understand how you would enjoy the card if you did that.
Right.
But there are people who are like, so you have to work around some of those policies, but every single one of them I've run into, I was like, there's a reason that eBay instituted this. If you're not ordering off eBay, you're really missing. It can be like a national every day.
Yeah.
You know, like I said, you don't get to hold in your hand, but it's just about the next best thing to it. So like I said, I started out with nobody, and there are probably about a half dozen or so just go-to sources for cards.
Right.
And so, especially with me buying ungraded, it's because PSA 8 67 Rod Carew rookie, that's PSA 8. It's in a holder.
It's a PSA 8 price.
And absolutely. And I can see the serial number on the picture, and it's got the hologram. I'm like, all right, well, this is the card I'm getting. When you buy raw, there's another level of that. But I can say now, after doing it for so many years, there's a good roster of people that I really do trust. But it's kind of on the buyer. I mean, you have to understand who you're doing business with, and just proceed from there.
Yeah. And I tell you a technique that we developed over the years for effective buying, which is different. You know, you're buying specifically to meet a need in it, to keep. And whereas we are often buying to break back down, you know, one of our ways of marketing is we minimize to the maximum. And what I mean by that is, you know, we'll buy a collection, or I'm giving away some secrets here, y'all. Write this down. You know, I'll buy a collection, or I'll buy a complete set, whatever. And I say, how many ways can we break this down?
Good. Can I give you an example?
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
Like what I was saying in February, I had a contact that I put you in, and he said, was it a 55 set or a 56?
Yeah.
Okay, all the way up through like the mid 80s.
Right.
And the funny thing is, and I'll say this, no trade secrets, but Joe, like when the guy started talking about his 84 set, his 85 set, his 86 set, and Joe's like, look, I'll be honest with you, I got 150 of those. If I buy these, I'm willing to take those.
Right.
So let's put those aside.
Yeah, let's not. Then you don't need to sell me on those.
But you started going through like the 58 set or whatever it was, and I could see it, and you're like, these are going to PSA, these are going to the $10 box, these are going to the comment, these are going to whatever, and you started like on the fly almost breaking these down. That's a whole different mindset when you're ordering,
right?
Because you got to have those different categories, and you got to know where the profit is,
right?
Yeah.
And so we sometimes we will look at a complete parallel insert set from a new product. You know, like here's some we just bought lately. My son and I bought some Prism Mosaic basketball complete sets. And our mindset was buy the whole set. We're going to grade the Luka. We're going to grade the Trey. We're going to grade the Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. We're going to grade the LeBron, you know, and then kind of the next, you know, we'll grade 20 cards. And then the next tier is like, you know, some of these could resell well individually, whether we put them on eBay or
whoever.
Yeah, and your other stars and semi-stars. And then, like, you know, the commons, there's other people who are building this set. So we'll scan them, list them on our website, list them back on eBay. And so it seems strange to some people, like, why do you buy a set to break it down? But that's what we do. We buy a full set, break it down, so that others can go finish their sets.
Absolutely. Like the Allen and Ginter I'm putting together, one of the things I love about any collection is the chase. And so you have your 300 set base, you have a 50 card high number short printed set, you have the minis, you have the Allen and Ginter backs, you have Booming Cities, and you know where monsters hide and all that other stuff. And so you're right, there are cards to pull, hits or inserts or, you know, special cards, whatever. But then I'm going on eBay and I'm wanting to complete the actual set. And so I'm looking for somebody who has the whole bugging out, you know, the miniature insert set. And so that's exactly, I'm on the flip side of what you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll give you another example. Hand me that WNBA bot. I'll show off a new product too.
Oh, brand new, yeah.
Brand new. WNBA basketball just came out. Prism, first ever Prism WNBA. Very hot product. 2 autographs. 12 cards per pack, 12 packs per box, 2 autos. They've got legends, they've got current stars, they've got rookies, etc. So this is a product that at a little under $300 a box,
wow,
it's not really one I'm going to be breaking down.
Yeah.
However, we've got customers who will want the singles, so I'll be going out on eBay. I'll let everybody else open them and try to get the Sue Bird autograph and the Taurasi autograph and whatever. And then they'll put their full sets together. We'll buy the complete set for, I don't even know what they're going for yet, but that's on my buy list for today. I've got to buy some WNBA sets, get them in, break them back down. And the other thing we'll probably do is look for, there'll be people running lot. We write down the word lot. Look for your product and search lot. Whether you're buying 67 high number or whatever.
Lot of 50.
Yeah, 19, whatever the year is. Whether it's brand new, whether it's vintage. Because some of you working on a vintage set, say you're
great way to start.
Yeah. It's either a great way to start or it's a great way to find, because like, let's say you need 30 67 high numbers. You can buy them one card at a time and you're going to pay X per card on average. Or you might buy a lot, 1967 high number lot of 50 or whatever, and you may get 15 of the guys you need.
And then I got 35 I can introduce into the hobby, reintroduce to the hobby.
Exactly.
There is a term, I believe Joe, he's got a good brain, so he'll know this. It's called the delta between collecting each card individually and then the price of the set. Some of these, like the delta of the 72 top set, do not buy that card by card.
No.
It's just not going to work out that way. But something like a 67, because nobody, hey, I'm jonesing for a 72 tops baseball set. People do say that for 67. Mm-hmm. They do say that maybe for 71. They say that for like 62.
Especially in the grade, depending on the grade.
Yeah, there are some sets that set itself apart like that. But you're right. If you are, looking for, I've got 7 left, I'm going to buy a lot of 100. Well, I'm going to find 6 of them. I still need 1, but now I've got a 94 that I can sell back or, again, reintroduce to the hobby is the nice way to put it. Yeah. And that has been an effective way for me as well.
Yeah. And I'll tell our viewers one other technique that I use a lot. I'm giving away a lot of secrets today, so you'll probably want to share this with your friends. And if you don't use this, you'll benefit from this, I think. If you're searching by it nows, you can, now if you're bidding on auctions, you often want to click on ending soon.
Yeah.
Because they're about to close, you can bid at the last minute and hop in. But the opposite technique, if you're doing buy it nows, when I'm searching, I search for newly listed buy it now. Click on the newly listed. Why? Because if somebody's priced it too cheap, or if it's a big lot at a bargain, whatever, you're it's just like going to the National and you're the first one to get to the table. So,
and there are people who aren't sure what they have, but there are also people who, I know exactly what I have. I just want it gone.
Right.
I just want to sell it for whatever reason. I got a house payment coming up, or I'm done with collecting, or in a lot of cases it's, I've decided to collect hockey or soccer now. And so I'll absolutely go newly listed. And we already talked about the buy it now, which I really love. But there are people who say, no, I understand what I have. I'm just looking to move on. I'm looking to get my money so I can put it in something else. So you're absolutely right. That is a great place to go.
And another search we use is often by seller. Like if you can find that guy who, I remember one night, I don't remember who I was searching from, Kobe cards or something. And the guy had one I was doing newly listed by it. And I'm like, well, that's under market. I think I'm going to buy that one. And so then I'm like, let's see what else he's got. And sure enough, he had just launched like 30 cards. And I was just like, every one of these is too cheap.
Yes.
And so I was just, buy now. I'm just going down the page of his listings. And of course, then I got combined shipping too. So when, and then my son Josh, we were bidding on a bunch of complete sets. And he goes, Daddy, this guy's got, 50 complete sets, modern insert basketball sets, all closing in the next 2 to 3 hours. So we just sat there running comps. We were on the phone. Jane was cracking up. He was like, well, this one, the last one closed for $1,200. It's only at $950. Let's bid 10.5. Okay. And then they're like 2 minutes. They're like 2 minutes apart. So we're like, did we win that one? And it's like, no time to worry about it. Move on to the next one.
Absolutely.
And so we got done. I'm like, how much? How much did we just spend? And so we spent like $5,000 that night buying sets to break down for grading. But, and you got to be careful because you can,
Yeah.
You got to have a budget in there somewhere, but I'm buying for the business. But
and then you got to actually break them down when they get in.
So let's go back. Other pitfalls, eBay. I have to share a story.
I want to say one thing that has been kind of eliminated, not for good reasons, but there used to be, there was a company that I would buy from in Houston, or just outside Houston, and they would have all the images online and all that, and so I loved it, and I can get my vintage there. And suddenly they changed their return policy, and they say we're now strictly, and I never returned anything. I was like, why would you return something? You can see the picture of it. I was confused, Joe. You know where this is going. said, we now have, we will have to strictly monitor our 30-day, he says, no questions asked, but 30-day return policy, and then you can't return it anymore. And so I'd ordered enough, and I had a little bit of a relationship, so I was like, look, I never return anything, but, you know, you seem pretty, you wanted everybody on the website to understand you have a new return policy. And he said, people will get our cards, they'll send them to a grading company with the express service, and basically take a flyer on it. And if it comes back as a 9 or a 10, they'll keep it. If it comes back as a 7 or an 8, they'll return it. And he said, we just can't do that. Ain't nobody getting cards back in 30 days now.
No.
So that has been eliminated, but that used to be something that I know, you know, people would try online as well, because there's another individual dealer I would only get from eBay, and he said people do the exact same things.
Yeah, that's why it's very scary being a high-end raw card dealer who sells online.
Yeah.
Because you're just asking for people to swap
sending it out there.
And that's why a lot of dealers will now put their, they'll have a printed tab they put over the top of the top load.
Yeah.
And it says, you know, void if tab broke, you know, like you can look at it.
You can hold it, you can turn around, you do all that.
Cut it out of there. Yeah, it's yours.
And it's I hate to say this, I mean, like, it's necessary, though, in a lot of cases, because there are some folks who that was kind of the angle they were working, although I have to imagine the grading times now has kind of changed that for some people. But I've noticed that with eBay as well. A lot of folks, you know, at least stating they have a different return policy, but I figure that the seller still has to work that out with eBay based on the eBay policy.
Right.
You know, so that's tough.
Yeah. I remember one of my worst purchases, we spent about, a buddy of mine, we were just both in the mood to buy a big collection, and then none had come in lately.
Yeah.
And so he found one. He was like, man, this guy's just got page after page of stuff. And he's got all these, I remember he had a bunch of 69 high number Fergie Jenkins. They just looked beautiful. And we were like, oh man, look at all, he's got all this vintage. And he just showed stacks and
Take it all.
stacks. And it was like, I think it was $7,500 for the deal. And it was a good couple of U-Hauls full of stuff. So we're like, man, just all this quantity. And so we get it in, we're going through it, and it was basically like our warehouse. It was just a whole bunch of commons with a couple of boxes of minor stars. And yeah, the Fergie Jenkins were there. And so we added up, and we're like, well, looks like we got about $1,000 resale here and a whole bunch of commons.
Yep.
And so we were like, we got really taken. And because he had presented it as, you know, we don't know what's here. They knew exactly what was there. And so be very careful.
There's a reason someone's being ambiguous.
Yeah.
And I'm going to put it this way, and I don't mean to step on your toes here, but if someone is selling, this is what I have seen on the buyer side. If someone is selling something that has value, they absolutely want you to know, here is the value, blatantly. Here's what you're getting. Here's why it's so good. Here's what, if somebody actually has that value, they want you to know about it. They're not going to be fuzzy and ambiguous about it. They're just not.
Yeah. So you got to be very careful. It's exciting buying a lot. It's more exciting buying it in person where you actually see what's there, or walking in my door and somebody's like, hey, I'm needing to unload all this stuff, whatever. But so you got to be careful. And now let's talk for those who are novice sellers, because you said you just started selling. I remember our phone call. You were like, what do I need to ship with?
Oh, absolutely. When I was going to try to raise some funds, and I wound up raising just over $3,000. And there were some really good cards in there, and I did a mixture of it. I started at the last week of March, and I ran it until we had some live events again. I work at a radio station, and we didn't have any live events. And I mean, you know, the first rung on the ladder is hourly employees that set up the table and hang the banners and hand out the T-shirts and do all that. Well, all four of those guys, zero income because there are no live events. So I started posting. I decided I want to sell some cards. I never sold a card in my life. I just acquire because that's what you do. You just keep cards. And I was like, well, there's something good we can do here. And so I started with a 67 Brooks Robinson. Now, I also had a 77 Carlton Fisk. So, I mean, it was all over the place, you know, as far as value would be. But I wanted to start with something really nice. Had a 71 Necro, had 75 Reggie. We just bounced around. And I realized that I want to approach this as if what I would want to see as a buyer. And so I got a piece of black felt, specially cut, that I would put the cards on. And it worked great for every year except 71 Tops.
Yeah.
But against that black felt background, it just, you could see if it was off center, you could see fuzz on a corner, you could see any of that. And so I tried to approach it by what I would want. And I tried to be as blatant and clear as I could be in the descriptions. and I was like, if you have any questions, please ask me. And so I had a flawless experience, and I got a lot of really good response, and people kind of knew why I was selling the cards, you know, what I was going to do with the money. And so some of them, there were some real nice folks that bid above, and a couple of people after they won, in fact, like the 77 Carlton Fisk Topps, it's a gorgeous card, and it's like a really high-end grade. It's not a high-end card, but high-end grade. It went for about $60, and and the guy said, just keep it. He's like, just donate the money. And there was a couple of guys who did that, but for the rest of the part, I know that I had to go get my mailing supplies, and I had to get, and the first guy that I mailed the Brooks Robinson to, he actually messaged me back on eBay. He was like, I think this card could live through World War III the way you wrapped it. I was so over the top. I was like, I've never just dropped a card into a mailbox. What are you doing?
Right.
Bubble wrap and then a bubble mailer. And I cut out cardboard from like a box about the size of the card on top and bottom, wrap that in bubble wrap, and then put it in a bubble mailer. And he was like, it arrived safely, Chuck, I promise you. Just because I've never done it before. So I learned over time. I was like, if you put it between two pieces of cardboard and then just in a bubble mailer, that's fine. If you put it in just like a thin layer of bubble wrap in a bubble mailer, some people just put it in a top loader in a bubble mailer.
Yeah. Or a white envelope.
Or a white, exactly. I will never do what you told me. Sometimes you'll open, I'm going to send you a box of cards, and it literally is the wax box with
loose
400
cards.
loose cards in it.
Yeah.
And so I learned that, yes, you need to package it correctly, or safely, but you don't have to go overboard like that. The top loader is a pretty resilient little piece of plastic. So I streamlined that, and I got it down pretty good just in time for me to no longer sell my cards, which is kind of what I was looking for anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, we've learned there's whole other layers of when we get into the international and the customs forms and all that fun stuff.
Oh, yeah. In fact, I have I want to ask you about this. I have, speaking of eBay, because for about a year, until my wife caught on, she looked in the wrong closet and saw that I had been collecting game used jerseys. She's like, Weathers? I was like, oh, David Weathers. He was a really good mid-inning reliever for the Mets, and so I've got a David Weathers Mets jersey. Well, there was a pitching prospect for the Reds about 10 years ago, last name Soto. I don't even know who it was. And I got his game used jersey for about $60. And you know the cool Mr. Red logo with the baseball with the mustache and all that? Well, it was the year they had so it was a really cool jersey, and it's documented. Got the hologram game used. Somebody in Japan won the auction. And do you know how much it's going to cost shipping to send a jersey to Japan?
Yeah.
It's over $100 in shipping. And I was like, I canceled it. I was like, I don't know. You can leave me bad feedback. He was like, no, I get that a lot. It's okay.
Right.
He's like, he's an American who lives over in Japan. He's a big baseball fan. Right. And so I was like, when you coming over to the States, can I mail it to a family here? And so he actually had an address here of his family that I mailed it to save me $100 in shipping. But it's something that I just put flat rate, $14.95, because that's about what it was.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Right. Unless you know you're mailing the United States.
Or just say, and no international shipping.
48 states, $14.95.
Yeah, protect yourself. So, well, I'm trying to think any other tips and tricks we can share with our viewers. Scanning, we talked about that a little bit. You like using the black felt. You know, we always recommend a high-res scanner, or your iPhone takes really good photos.
And that's what I was using. And I even, like I said, it was all a process at first, but I got black felt because everything except 71 Topps, it really highlights the card pretty well. And for me, it was realizing the proper angle so that I don't have a shadow over it. I'm standing over trying to take a picture, and nobody wants to see a shadow. They want to see the card. And so I've learned exactly so you just learn all these little different ways to present it. But the way I try to approach it is I'm just a guy trying to make an honest deal for a quality card. And so be as transparent and clear as possible. And so that was my approach, and it went over pretty well.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate everybody watching. Hey, Chuck, before we close out, let everybody know how they can find you online and your other show and everything.
Well, if you ever see me on eBay, it's Kang's Cards, Kangs, Kang's Cards, cards with a K as well. And but I'm a radio host in Atlanta. You can get me on Twitter at KingCFB. I'm on Afternoon Drive in Atlanta every day, Monday through Friday, and then also Monday through Friday from noon to 2 Eastern. I host a syndicated college football show that is on 47 stations throughout the Southeast, and so that's what I do every day.
Yeah, and of course you can always hear us on the Collector and the Dealer podcast.
Absolutely.
And shop with us at GotBaseballCards.com. And if you like the content today, let us know, and we will be happy to share more in the future. And we'll try to snag every time Chuck comes by to shop, we'll have to
put me to work.
Yeah, that's right, put you to work too. So thanks so much for coming out today.
Love it.
And appreciate all of you tuning in today, and we will see you next time here at Got Baseball Cards.